Anne here, and I like to talk about Disney princesses. Since we've gone through them all individually, let's dig into what their stories have in common and how this has changed over the last near century. And what better place to start than with their princes and how they fit into the story.
He is most fair of countenance. He is. Handsome of bearing, like Apollo of the Greeks. A figure of romance, sent by the gods and for you alone.
I am, as always, going to be addressing hot takes everyone has about these movies that they base on barely remembered moments from childhood instead of actually rewatching the films.
Wait! I know this story! Di Fragi Brutto!
So today, let's dig into what assumptions people make about these fellas and how incorrect those really are.
No, I cannot slay a man whose only crime is that he loved not too wisely, but too well.
In my last video on the topic, I conducted a quantitative analysis of exactly who is rescuing whom, and if we can really say that these are stories of women needing men to save them. You can watch that one for details, but for our purposes here, we came to the conclusion that it is not only the prince who is doing the rescuing, and nor is the princess the only one in need of rescue. So the question we are exploring today is that if the prince is not here just to save the day, why is he here? In short, why do Disney princes matter?
The jester Jacquimo shall enter upon a series of tests of manhood, skill, and courage requisite to his becoming a knight of the realm.
Me a knight? But why?
To make you eligible for the hand of the Princess Gwendolyn.
Our purpose here is to explore what exactly the prince provides, both structurally to the story and to the princess herself. Is the role of the princess reduced because of his presence? What does he really have to offer? And what happens when he is removed?
And I'll be shooting for my own hand.
And I promise you, daughter or not, princess or not, one move, one false move, and your neck will snap like a twig.
So first off, here are the results of our study. This is for the princesses with princes, and here are the results for all 13 ladies. As you can see, in both cases, the princess saves the prince more times than she is saved by him. Both are often saved by other characters, and the ladies rescue themselves a few times. So we rejected the previous hypothesis that princesses are just damsels to be saved by a strapping young man. The ladies without princes were saved at least as often as those who had a love interest around to rescue them, and the prince is saved by the princess more than he saves her, with most of the stories breaking even.
A life for a life. My debt is repaid.
But the real question here is, why do we have so much of this rescuing going on in these stories? Is it to show how helpless women are, as is often assumed by adult critics? Well, no, because that's not even happening mathematically. But what is probably bothering most adults is how rarely this category occurs. Why do so few princesses rescue themselves?
You took away my victory!
No! I did.
So before we get into the results of my qualitative study, we need to establish something that is absolutely necessary for any analysis of media. Who is the target audience? What are the common tropes? And how are they going to impact the story being told? Essentially, we must have genre savvy to be able to properly code and discuss my findings.
Can you make me a prince?
Let's see. Chicken a la king? Yeah, that's king crab. Caesar salad. Et tu, Brute? Nope. To make a prince.
Let's get this out of the way then. The reason that the princess is stuck in a bad situation is that's the point of a fairy tale. These stories are made for quite young children, and that's a significant aspect of them. There isn't a lot of nuance to them. There's a happily ever after. The good and bad guys are clearly defined, so the kids know whom to root for. But more than that, do you know how children feel most of the time?
It's just no use. No use at all.
By beheading.
They feel powerless, like they are surrounded by people who have demands and expectations, and they're unable to make any choices of their own.
But you must never see that young man again.
Oh no!
Ariel, no! No, she's a demon! She's a monster!
Why don't you go tell my father? You're good at that.
The characters in stories for kids are unable to change their circumstances or get what they want themselves. And that's a feature, not a bug.
We need to be human.
Y'all ain't got to say shit what's wrong with.
And it's not unique to female characters. The reason we hear so much about this being a problem with princesses is because there's not an equivalent group of male characters being marketed so well that we could also analyze. But like, Luke Skywalker needs help multiple times in A New Hope from the older, more experienced characters.
You'll be dead! This little one's not worth the effort.
That's why it's such an appealing story for children. It's true in Disney as well. Robin Hood, Aladdin, Simba, and Hercules all need pretty substantial help to be successful in their stories. Robin Hood and Aladdin are captured and need rescue.
Off with his head! Okay, big shot. Now tell him to untie my buddy or I'll...
What are you doing?
Giving you your reward.
In case of emergency, the exits are here, anywhere.
Simba and Hercules have no way to stop their powerful uncles from ruining the world until they get some magical intervention. When you watched any of these stories as a kid, at the appropriate age to do it, you were thinking of how hard the characters are fighting against their powerlessness. They run away, they seek magical fixes, they do whatever they can to stop the cause of their unhappiness, and everyone else's. As C.S. Lewis says, since it is so likely that children will meet cruel enemies, let them at least have heard of brave knights and heroic courage. Otherwise, you are making their destiny not brighter, but darker. What adults are uncomfortable acknowledging is that, to a child, the world is a frightening and difficult place, where they have no power and no tools to solve their problems. These stories show them heroes who offer a way to handle things with dignity and resourcefulness and the wish fulfillment, literally, of a magical way to fix everything and get what they truly want.
What once was mine.
As is described by this Tumblr post, a story where a child is fighting for their life is a fucked up situation because adults obviously let them down, and an adult is going to perceive that as awful and sad and be disturbed by it. But a child is going to think that looks a lot like their current experience of 6th grade, and it would be greatly improved if they were given a sword, or magic wishes, or whatever, the ability to make choices about literally anything in their lives. Like, sorry adults, but many children already are experiencing having a step-parent who seems to be usurping their position at home, or they're being bullied or punished by family and society for what they care most about, or they're feeling trapped by their circumstances and by the expectations placed upon them, or by the need to fix things around them but lacking the tools to do so. Fairy tales give them the tools and present the fantasy that, with a little magic and a little help from their friends, they could change things. They could be brave and resilient, and it will pay off in the end. So the problem with the way that adults talk about these stories is that they often start with the ending, with how it fails to live up to their grown-up expectations, instead of starting with once upon a time. Once upon a time, a person was in a terrible situation, and they did everything they could to get out of it. Then, with magic, they solved their problems and lived happily ever after. Just because you as an adult may be too cynical to believe that these happy endings would ever work out doesn't mean you should take them away from children with whom these stories resonate and for whom they are intended. Now that we're all on the same page, let's dig into my findings. The participants are, of course, our 13 princesses through observation of the ladies over the course of several days, where they helpfully often sang about their heart's desires. And my preliminary findings indicate that the prince is here to provide what the princess wants or needs in order to facilitate a happy ending. Let's get into more.
Don't despair, child. You will not marry Griswold. I've told you it was written in the stars. Your true love will come yet, I promise you.
Now, the first theme I found was related to the function the princes usually perform in these stories. The princes generally function as a sort of deus ex machina for the princesses. They show up from outside of the story and are able to solve it specifically because the villain is hers, not his. But why are they princes instead of something else? Well, if you have a person with a bad home life, the easiest way to get out of it is to get married or get a job.
to meet your Prince Charming and dance off into your happily ever after.
And since these are princesses, having a job is usually off the table. We are not gonna really unpack that today, but it is obviously more like a fairy tale for it to end in a royal wedding instead of a first day on a new job. Plus, the historical setting for most of these makes a career woman unlikely.
You can have his job. What?
But just because she's not gainfully employed, it doesn't mean she's uninvolved with the resolution. Snow White gets herself somewhere safe for a while through her own kindness and goodness.
Hello? May I come in?
It's not enough to save her. A compassionate prince comes along to reward her for all her efforts.
One song only for you.
Cinderella manages to escape her evil stepmother for a day, and a kind prince rewards her by whisking her away forever.
So this is love.
And so on. The princesses are good-hearted and kind and resilient in the face of adversity. They are rewarded with men who are similar to them and who can save the day because they come from essentially outside the story and are not constrained by the same issues the princess faces.
Oh, she's out there somewhere. I just haven't found her yet.
Jafar may be able to trick Aladdin, but Jafar lives in Jasmine's house.
You will wed Jafar.
It's very difficult for people living in bad situations to escape them. That's why there's magic in these stories. And please understand that the prince showing up is part of the magic.
So arm thyself with this enchanted shield of virtue and this mighty sword of truth.
But if we take them literally, the princes are good role models for boys. The heroics involve saving those in need, and they're absolutely devoted to the princesses.
Sometimes tenderness and kindness can also make a man a very rare man.
Bringing us to the second finding. The prince always truly loves the princess. These two princes may not have names, but they love the princess on sight and search desperately for her when things go down.
One song my heart keeps singing.
I don't even know your name. How will I find you? Wait! Please wait!
In terms of courtship, Philip, Eric, and arguably Snow White's prince all fall in love as soon as they hear the princess singing.
She was singing. She had the most beautiful voice.
And go to great lengths to ensure she's safe. Most of the princes fall in love with her the first time they see her.
Today.
Oh!
Hello.
There she stands, the girl of his dreams.
Yet I know it's true. Just you and me, and I could be.
Wow.
And how did you find me?
Aha.
The reason there are so many romantic dances is to show us that they are in love.
So this is love.
The more modern stories add other moments of getting to know each other, but the film language makes their feelings clear. Their mutual feelings.
One love.
Several of the princes insist on marrying for love.
The prince, sire, swears he'll marry none but the girl who fits this slipper.
And I command you to come to your senses.
And marry the girl I love.
Exactly.
Oh, believe me, Grim, when I find her, I'll know.
And most talk about how much they love the princess as they go through the trials and travails of the story.
Just been talking to Philip. Seems he's fallen in love with some peasant girl.
Hey, what are you doing?
Grim, I lost her once. I'm not gonna lose her again. Jasmine, I do love you.
Because I love her.
I'd rather die tomorrow than live 100 years without knowing you.
You fight good.
I will do whatever it takes to make all your dreams come true because I love you. Rapunzel, I thought I'd never see you again.
If you are again reading backwards, that doesn't seem like a big deal, and you might be too cynical to believe it, but it makes a big difference and is essential to these stories. Snow White, Cinderella, Ariel, Belle, Jasmine, and Rapunzel all have home lives where they are no longer welcome, where they do not feel loved. 3 of these have actively evil mother figures, making them miserable.
You will kill her.
Oh, you can't do this. You just can't. Let me out.
You are not leaving this tower! Ever!
The other 3 are dissatisfied by their situations and need to change things. Not for selfish reasons. They are actively endangered and things would go badly if the prince wasn't around to help.
One little word, Belle, that's all it takes.
Never.
Have it your way.
Belle?
You're speechless, I see. They find quality in a wife.
Ariel's father makes the home just as unsafe for her as these mothers do for Rapunzel or Cinderella. Belle's gonna get tricked into a marriage against her will if she stays in this town any longer. And Jafar is going to find a way to usurp the throne, likely killing Jasmine in the process. Cinderella and Rapunzel's mothers may not be trying to kill them like Snow White says, but they are certainly going to keep using them until there's nothing left.
Tapestries and the draperies.
But I just finished.
Do them again.
The world is dark and selfish and cruel.
So more than half of the love interests in these films are providing more than just immediate resolution. They're offering a way for the princess to get a better life, kind of the only realistic way to achieve that goal, for them to live somewhere they choose, or at least with someone who values them for themselves, instead of hating them or pushing them into an ill-fitting box. Again, as a story for children, it is presenting the idea that the viewer is worthy of love, something very important for them to know. And that love is often ignored in the discourse, but it is essential to the story.
Love's first kiss.
Not just any kiss. The kiss of true love.
If he could learn to love another and earn her love in return.
But he had what he needed. He had love.
And now we get to my most important finding.
When I marry for love. Someone dashing and romantic who will carry me off as a princess should be.
The prince embodies what the princess wants. The song the princess sings at the start, sometimes with the prince himself, leads into what the prince offers later. Snow White is wishing for the one she loves, and there he is.
For the one I love today.
Neither are especially fleshed out as characters, but they are both kind and compassionate. He loves her as soon as he sees her, not caring that she appears to be a scullery maid, and this is enough for him to search for her until he can save her. Cinderella dreams of a different life, of the castle.
The dream that you wish true.
And that's what the prince gives her at the end. Again, he's not much of a character, but he wants to marry the one he loves, and he sees Cinderella's value when her family does not.
He knows not, nor does he care, for his heart tells him that he is the maid predestined to be his bride.
Both are navigating family obligations, and marrying each other offers a way to solve the issues with both families.
No. Let him alone! With his silly romantic idea?
Aurora sings of her dream prince, and again, he shows up. Again, they're dealing with family obligations and duty. This time, an arranged marriage that both want to ignore so they can be together.
You're already betrothed. Betrothed since the day you were born.
They meet as peasants and fall in love. So fortunately, it turns out this arrangement is with each other, and it works out in everyone's favor.
The peasant girl, who is she? Where did he meet her?
Once upon a Rose. Prince Philip.
Ariel wants to be part of the human world, first in general, then specifically with Eric.
Heart of your
They are both adventurous and curious about everything, and he wants to marry someone he loves, a rare trait for fellas to have.
It'll just, bam, hit me. Like lightning.
They're passionate and relentlessly pursue what they want, so it works out great when they want each other.
Eric, you've got to get away from here.
No, I won't leave you.
Belle longs to escape the provincial life, but she also wants someone to understand.
And for once it might be grand to have someone understand.
Which the Beast does. Everyone knows Belle is the most beautiful, and that means a lot of expectations are placed upon her.
But she's the most beautiful girl in town.
I know, Belle.
That makes her the best.
The Beast does not comment on her appearance once, and his feelings are shown to come from how she acts, not how she looks.
But then she's never looked at me that way before.
He made that mistake once. Now he knows acutely how it feels to be judged for his looks, and he does not judge Belle the same way. So not only does he offer life in a castle, but with someone who understands her instead of making assumptions about her appearance.
You care for the girl, don't you?
More than anything.
Belle, it's me.
It is you.
Jasmine feels trapped by her role as a princess and longs to escape it, even if we don't get a song about it.
Then maybe I don't want to be a princess anymore.
When she meets Aladdin, she realizes what she's capable of doing on her own.
But I can't stay here and have my life lived for me.
She plays along with him here multiple times.
She thinks the monkey is the sultan.
Oh, wise Sultan, how may I serve you?
And gets to explore what she can do.
I'm a fast learner.
Later, she calls him out for not respecting her as a person because she values herself, and he values her, not just because she caught his eye in the marketplace.
Did you think I was stupid?
No!
That I wouldn't figure it out?
No, I mean, I hoped you wouldn't.
They stop Jafar together, and his influence is why her home is now a safe place for her to be, with her father respecting her wishes far more now than he did at the start.
Father?
Well, am I sultan or am I sultan? The princess shall marry whoever she deems worthy.
I choose you.
I have some concerns about Pocahontas as a story, but generally she wants an adventure instead of marrying the safe option.
Should I marry Cocoam? All my dreaming at an end.
John Smith is all about adventure. He goes there to see something new.
All of my life I have searched for a land like this one.
They also have strong feelings about doing what is right, no matter what. So they may not end up together, but they have a lot in common, and they save each other in the climax.
This is the path I choose, Father. What will yours be?
Shang and Mulan are both having to navigate family expectations, and specifically how to be honorable children to their fathers.
The general may be your father, but I am the Emperor's consort.
The Fa Zhou?
I didn't know Fa Zhou had a son.
He doesn't talk about me much.
Mulan feels constrained by what is expected from her. She has a whole song about it, and Shang may not sing about it, but he's clearly feeling it with his first command.
Those boys are no more fit to be soldiers than you are to be captain. You would do well to teach your daughter to hold her tongue in a man's presence.
They're both motivated by duty and honor, and how these conflict with their own desires.
We're the only hope for the Emperor now.
They probably end up together at the end because he is the only one who truly understands what drove her to go to war.
She's a hero.
Would you like to stay for dinner?
Dinner would be great.
The Princess and the Frog is unfortunately not a great story. See my video on it. But theoretically, Tiana is hardworking and needs to figure out that work-life balance.
I don't have time for dancing.
Naveen is a ne'er-do-well who is having too much fun and needs to do some work once in a while.
Get a job.
All right, fine. But first we dance!
So opposites attract and they rub off on each other.
Keep practicing, and I just might hire you.
Really?
No.
Oh, come on.
Similarly to Cinderella, this ends with Naveen handling his family obligations by getting married, and Tiana getting a happily ever after out of it as well. Finally, Rapunzel wants to leave the tower for an adventure, and Eugene takes her on one.
Take me to these lanterns and return me home safely.
He was an orphan who wanted to be a hero.
And for a kid with nothing, this seemed like the better option.
She's separated from her parents and kind-hearted, unlike Mother Gothel.
I've been on this incredible journey, and I've seen and learned so much.
She gets to explore the world and learn more about it in the process, while being with her reminds Eugene of the person he was before experience made him cynical.
What if it's not everything I dreamed it would be?
It will be.
And he'll do anything for her, in contrast to Mother Gothel, who would do anything to save the magic. Eugene makes it clear what he considers important, which is Rapunzel being free instead of being used, no matter what that might cost him.
But if you do this, then you will die.
All of these stories, except I guess Pocahontas, can conclude with saying the prince and princess lived happily ever after. But this isn't simply hand-waving away the conflict of the story. The reason the prince exists in most of these stories is so we get to explore both internal and external motivations for the princess. She sings about what she wants, and the prince is usually written to be that for her. There's some external problem she's facing, and the prince generally contributes to defeating that villain. Though let's not discount what the princesses do on that score.
Perhaps if it would help.
No, nothing can help now. Nothing.
But you see, I have the other slipper.
Say goodbye to your sweetheart.
I love you.
Will do what I order you to do, slave.
Get off the roof, get off the roof, get off the roof.
No!
These are also fantasies. It may be easy to point out holes in the story when you're an adult, but it's because you're applying the wrong logic to it. You're not using your genre savvy. Characters fall in love at first sight, and true love canonically exists with magical properties in these universes. The prince is besotted with the princess, and of course they'll be happy ever after. Most of them have a great deal in common during the story, and the prince shows how he values her above anyone else, and vice versa. So that sounds like it'll make for a solid marriage to me. There are other characters, family members, or other suitors who make it abundantly clear that no one understands the princess as well as the prince does.
A true story.
A love story.
Once there was a princess, and she fell in love.
But sire, he loves her.
I said I met the girl I was going to marry.
I'm telling you, Grim, she was real. I'm gonna find that girl. And I'm gonna marry her.
I've never felt this way about anyone.
But Jeannie, she's smart and fun and pretty. Beautiful.
You don't meet a girl like that every dynasty.
No, Ray, I'm not in love with Evangeline. I am in love with Tiana.
That's what makes it a happy ending. So the prince provides three things: a goal for the princess, someone who cares for her in a situation where a lot of the time no one else really does, and by providing a situation in which she can get a happily ever after. Structurally speaking, the prince, the princess, and the villain form three pillars of the story. The princess has something to go toward and something to get away from, and that may sound simple, but simplicity can resonate, especially with children. Now, as any researcher can tell you, it can be very helpful to look at counterexamples when it comes to emphasizing the truth of our findings. So let's look at our ladies who do not have princes and how removing one leg of this structure changes the story.
From this moment on, this hand, this steel, this heart will exist for naught but the love of the lady.
Save your breath, Griswold.
With Merida, her not having a love interest is part of the plot.
To win the fair maiden, they must prove their worth.
However, I just want to point out that the movie resolves with where she is willing to be courted as a way to be won, instead of whoever wins this competition gets to have her.
And thus compete for the hand of the Princess of Dunbroch.
She doesn't actually win the ability to not marry, she just gets the ability to choose whom.
Might our young people decide for themselves who they will love?
However, this movie doesn't have a fairy tale structure, it has the Pixar structure. This isn't a musical, and all we know is that Merida doesn't want to be forced into marriage. So instead of giving her something to want, she has something she doesn't want. And the resolution is only to delay it, not remove it. You can't really call this a happily ever after, even if presumably she's gonna get along better with her mom now. Her future is still uncertain. So while I'm sure plenty of children enjoyed this movie, it doesn't have the same effect of ensuring Merida has a happy ending as these previous ones did. It doesn't have the same wish fulfillment of giving her power over getting what she wants.
Our fate lives within us. You only have to be brave enough to see it.
Moana has no love interest, and there isn't even one suggested. There's no prince to save the day. She does that. Except we still have this three-legged structure. To cause the villain, Maui takes the role of the prince. The ending switches it up, with Maui turning out to have been the cause of all this, though I wouldn't really call him a villain. And Te Fiti fixes the issues Moana had. So they're switching places, but it's important for this video to show that they're both still there. And the relationship between Maui and Moana still has the emotional resonance of the other ones.
But the gods aren't the ones who make you Maui. You are.
Moana and Maui both struggle with insecurities about their own worth and get past it when they value each other. I'm not saying I ship it or anything, I'm just saying he fits into the story as the prince to her princess. And that's perfectly fine because it's a good way to structure a story, and it's refreshing to see that structure be platonic.
They already have one.
Then we have Raya. This one isn't a fairy tale either. There's no singing. She has no love interest or really a villain, not in the traditional sense.
Namari.
It doesn't have a Pixar structure, though it might be trying to. Listen, I know I was nice about Raya in her video, as she deserves, but the movie itself has one of the worst structures I've ever seen. I like the characters and the overall arc, but this is a house of cards. Point being that Raya doesn't have a prince, and her story ends with her having to sacrifice herself. To save people, sure, but all she wants in this movie is to change what happened at the start.
What my mom wanted us to do, to finally trust each other and fix this.
She does that, but then what? There's no telling what happens next. It's not the same kind of resolution that princess movies usually have. We know she's freed from what was bothering her, but we don't really know that she's gonna be happy now. She just has her dad back.
Welcome to Kumandra.
I'm not saying any of these movies are bad, I'm just saying they lost part of what made them a fairy tale. Disney fairy tales are coming-of-age stories, and they have to end by anchoring the protagonist to something that signifies being of age. What made them so appealing to kids is that things work out perfectly at the end and the protagonist gets everything they wanted, demonstrating that they're no longer too powerless to be successful. And for that to happen, they must have something they want. The prince is an easy shorthand for that. Even Aurora, with so little power to do anything in her story, definitely finishes the movie with everything we know she wanted at the start. And the other princesses are the same way. Having a prince gives them a way to show their independence and how they now have power over their lives by choosing their future. The princesses without a prince, including live action, often lack an anchor point to adulthood. It's just an adventure they went on, and they go home to their parents, still functionally just kids. At least Moana is chief now, but she's the only one who has something signifying adulthood. These stories don't need to have a prince, but replacing the end point he embodies with nothing breaks the coming-of-age story. And that's how you get Rey Skywalker.
Rey Skywalker.
Now, there is an interesting discussion about how what adulthood looks like has changed over the decades, but that's another video, probably. For today, I think we have sufficient data, both quantitative and qualitative, to truly make a conclusion about the role of the prince in these stories.
Can this be true, or is it merely a dream?
Dream. Is this a dream? Or this? Or this? Or this?
Princes have a lot of important roles with regard to the princess. He embodies what she wants, and usually what she needs as well. He's a foil for the villain because the villain doesn't value her, and he does. Especially important when the villain is a member of her family who's supposed to look after her. And he's here to show that the princess will have a happy ending. He may sometimes stop the villain or save the princess from immediate danger, but his real purpose is to show that happy ever after is possible, that all the suffering and strife in the rest of the story can resolve to a stable and happy future, where the villain is gone and she has a place to live with someone who would do anything for her.
I want to do something for her.
Grim, I lost her once. I'm not gonna lose her again.
I will do whatever it takes to make all your dreams come true.
About 15 years ago, a bunch of cynical people decided these relationships were problematic and embarrassing, so Disney stopped including them. The goal here was presumably to ensure that the princess has the agency and does the heroics herself, but I think that reflects a really cold worldview on how much people might help you if you're in trouble. More importantly, it ended up not being true. Even without a prince, the princesses still require rescue. Merida is saved by her mother, Moana by Maui, and Raya by Namari. But this isn't because of sexism. The real reason this state of affairs persists is because this is a feature of the story, not a bug to be fixed. Princesses needing a helping hand isn't saying that women can't do anything themselves. As we saw, the princesses save a lot of people in their stories, saving the prince just as often as he saves her. The genre and the demographic for which these stories are made requires the protagonist be rescued multiple times, regardless of gender.
I can't help you unless you make a wish.
However, the princes have generally been removed for both newer princesses and for the remakes, which has caused structural issues in the stories. And not because it is difficult for a female character to be the hero of a story. We already saw that with Mulan, and she's still got a man.
She brings home a sword. If you ask me, she should have brought home a man.
Excuse me.
The role of the prince is to be what the princess wants, made into something tangible that she can get at the end. Mulan gets Shang at the end because he's gonna understand the whole journey she just went on in a way no one else could. And may I just say that it is hugely important to me that a franchise exists where what women want is so essential that it reshapes the entire story. Removing the prince means princesses don't want anything, so they can't get it, which is disappointing. It takes the magic out of these stories and reflects a level of cynicism and irony that has no place in a fairy tale.
If you'd lost all your faith, I couldn't be here. And here I am.
Not to mention, it questions the idea that women's desires are important and worth seeking. Obviously, the overall story is better if the prince is more fleshed out, if their relationship has more time to develop. But the early princes are just as devoted to their princesses as the later ones, possibly more so, since that's kind of the only trait they have. A child watching this is going to relate to the powerlessness of the princess and be inspired by all the ways she tries to get out of the situation, and then be thrilled when she gets rescued by someone who is understanding and gentle and tall. Everything a Disney prince should be.
Don't worry, I'll help you. Come on, you'll be okay.
You can't remove him without endangering the structure of the story. Sure, you might want more platonic stories like Moana and Maui, and I don't disagree, but I just want to point out that the princesses have tons of platonic relationships with male characters in these stories. They really don't have any with female characters, and I'm going to talk about that later, but there are plenty of platonic relationships going on in these movies. The prince loving the princess is essential to these stories. She deserves to have someone come along who adores her after the family life most of these princesses have had. And more importantly, it is vanishingly rare for a love story to be about a man loving a woman from the woman's perspective. Disney princesses teach children how to cope with their powerlessness, how to stay kind and resilient in the face of danger, and equally as importantly, that what they truly want matters. And they should aspire to getting someone who truly cares about them, and who doesn't make them feel powerless, who will brave danger and help them when things go wrong. That's why the prince is so essential to include. Even if you might be irony poisoned and can't embrace the level of earnestness on display here, it is nonetheless so important for kids to see. That's why princes matter. Thank you for listening to me talk about an essential part of princess movies. If you'd like to hear more of my thoughts, head over to Patreon to hear about how costumes reflect or reinforce a story's themes, such as this one about Snow White and reflective surfaces. Please like, comment, or tip me on coffee if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to catch my next video. We'll be talking about damsels in distress in adventure movies. See you then.